Okay, so this is 1.5b where we're solving real life proportions. So these are going to be the word problems. We're going to have to try and pick them apart and see what we can come up with to try and create equations and solve them. So from yesterday, what is a proportion? A proportion is two ratios that equal each other. So ratios are basically two fractions that equal each other. If you'll recall yesterday, we had stuff like this, x over x plus 3 equals, I don't know, 3 over x plus 2, something like that. Okay, where we had to solve for x, the ratios are equal to each other. So it's also a comparison of two quantities. So when we're making our word problems today, we'll be comparing like dollars versus days or something like that, dollars per hours, similar situations to that. All right, so steps for solving word problems using proportions. Go ahead and pause the video and then come on back. Okay, first problem is Kayla reduced the size of a triangle to a height of 2 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw myself a picture because pictures are always helpful. So I know I have a triangle with a height of 2 inches. So the height is 2. I need a thinner pencil there, I think. Let's start over. So I've got a triangle with a height of 2. What is the new width? So the question is, what is the new width if it was originally 45 inches wide and 18 inches tall? So it sounds to me like Kayla originally had a triangle, originally 45 inches wide, wide and 18 inches tall. So it started out being 18 inches tall. It started out being 45 inches wide. The question is, what is the new width? So what is this distance? That's what the question is asking. Okay, so I'm going to make a ratio out of that. Since I don't know what this is over here, I'm going to call this distance x. Let's put in a variable for that. So I'm going to make a ratio where I compare the height and the width of one triangle to the height and the width of the other triangle. So my ratio is going to be 2 over x, my height over my width, equals the height of the other triangle, which is 18, over the width, equals the height of the other triangle, which is 18, divided by the width of the other triangle, which is 45. Notice that I kept both of my heights in the numerator and both of my widths in the denominator. So make sure you're being consistent with that. So what I've done essentially here is I've created a ratio, and all I need to do is cross multiply to solve. So this is what we did yesterday. That's going to give me 18x equals 90. And I think if I divide both sides by 18, that x is going to be 4. So the original width, I'm sorry, not 4, 5. The original width of the triangle was 5. So this distance was originally 5. Okay, let's try another one. The currency in Europe is called the euro. That's a true story. The exchange rate is approximately $9 for every euro. So right now I'm going to set up my ratio. $9 for every euro. So $9 for every 7 euros. So notice I have dollars on the top and I've got euros on the bottom. So when I set up my other ratio, I have to have dollars on the top and euros on the bottom. So at this rate, starting out here, at this rate, how many dollars? So how many dollars? So I know that dollars, I have to put an X up there because that's what I'm going to be looking for. Would you get if you exchange 42 euros? So euros goes on the bottom, so the 42 goes there. Then you cross multiply, you're going to get 7x equals 42 times 9, which is going to give me 378. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 7. So when I divided both sides by 7, I got x's equal 54. So that means it would take $54 to get 42 euros. Okay, 14 cantaloupes cost $35. So right now I'm going to use that information. 14 cantaloupes cost $35. And notice I have my cantaloupes on the top and my dollars on the bottom. So equals how many cantaloupes? Okay, so that I don't know the cantaloupes over here, so the x is going to go on the top. Can I buy for $5? So 5 goes down here because it's dollars. Then we cross multiply. 35x equals 70. When I multiply 14 and 5 and then divide both sides by 35, x is going to be 2. So I can buy 2 cantaloupes for $5. A frame, a picture frame, I guess you could call it, is 2.4 inches tall and 4.3 inches wide. So I'm going to right away make my ratio, 2.4, and 4.3. I'm getting that information from right here. So I'm tall versus wide. Okay. All right. If it is enlarged, so I'm making it bigger, to a width of 12.9. So the width of 12.9, my width goes on the bottom. So the 12.9 is going to go on the bottom. Then how tall will it be? So I don't know the height. I'm looking for how tall. So again, you're cross multiplying. And go ahead and pull out your calculator and solve that. Okay, so according to my calculations, x is equal to 7.2. So the height of the frame would be 7.2 inches, because we're talking about inches here. Okay, so x equals 7.2 inches. All right, a football coach surveyed the team and found that 12 out of 72 players felt they didn't get enough playing time. So 12 out of 72 players. I'm going to make my ratio really quick. So 12 players out of 72 total. So keep in mind that the total players goes on the bottom. How many players do not feel they get enough playing time if there are 700 football players in the Okay, so if there's 700 total football players in the district, that means the 700 goes on the bottom with the other total, and the x, how many players would not get enough time or feel they don't. So you're going to cross multiply again. So 12 times 700, let me whip up my calculator here really quick. 12 times 700. That gives me 8,400. Equals 12x. And then if I divide both sides by 12, that gives me 700 players. That seems like a lot of players. That can't be right. Let me go back and check that again. Hold on. Okay, I found my mistake. This should not be 12x here. This should be 72x, which means I'm going to divide both sides by 72. So that would be 8,400 divided by 72, which gives me 1116.6 repeating. Except I can't have 0.6 repeating of a player. So I have to round that. So I'm going to round that up, because 0.6 is bigger than 0.5. So I'm going to say about 117 players feel like they don't get enough playing time. Approximate. Okay, culinary teacher surveyed his class and found that 8 out of 28 students had never been to a 5-star restaurant. So 28 the total. 8 out of 28 total students. How many students who have never been to a five-star restaurant if there are 1,292 students at the school? So is 1,292 the total number, or is that the students who hadn't been? And if you read the problem right, you would know that this means students in the school. That's total students in the school. So that goes in the bottom, and the x goes on the top. So my equation is 28x equals 8 times 1292, which gives me 28x equals 10336. And then if I divide both sides by 28, I get x equals 369.1428 dot dot dot. Okay, so I can't have 0.1428 of a student, so I'm looking at this number right here. And since that is a 1, which is smaller than 5, I'm going to round this to say 369 students. So about 369 students out of 1,292 have never been to a five-star restaurant. Okay, you've surveyed your class and found that 12 out of 34. So right away I'm going to write 12 out of 34 where the total is on the bottom. Don't have internet at home. How many students do not have internet at home if there are 1,500 total students at your school? So go ahead and pause the video and solve that one on your own. All right, I got x is equal to 529.4. Again, I have to look at this number right here because it's a decimal and ask myself, can I have 0.4 of a person? And of course the answer is no. So I have to round, and since 4 is smaller than 5, the halfway point, I have to leave it at x equals 529. So about 529 students out of 1,500 do not have internet at home. Tony's making lemonade for her lemonade stand. She uses 6 lemons to make 4 pitchers. So I got 6 lemons for 4 pitchers. So I'm going to put lemons on the top, pitchers on the bottom. All right. If she wants to make 6 pitchers, okay, so the 6 is going to go on the bottom with the pitchers. How many lemons will she need? All right, so then I'm going to cross multiply. This is an easy one. I can do this one in my head. 4x equals 6 times 6, which is 36. If I divide both sides by 4, I get x equals 9. So she would need 9 lemons to make 6 pitchers of lemonade. All right, 105 students were asked. I just underline that because I think that's important. 105. Are you on a sports team? The following table shows the results. So if you look here, 75 plus 30 gives me my 105 students that were asked. So yeah, 75 out of 105 answered yes, and 30 out of 105 answered no. If there are 1,200 students total, how many students are on a sports team? So I'm looking for the ones that suggest that they are on a sports team. So 75 out of those 105 said yes, they are on a sports team. Okay, so the totals, again, the totals on the bottom. All right, if there are 1,200 students total, so the total goes on the bottom, and the x goes on the top, and then we have to solve for our ratio, so I got 105x equals 75 times 1,200, which you could put in your calculator is 9,000. Then when I divide both sides by 105, I get x is equal to 857.14. So again, I can't have 0.14 of a student. So I'm going to have to round that. So I'm looking again at this number right here, which is smaller than 5. So I'm looking at the 1, which is smaller than 5. So I have to leave it at 857 students. So about 857 out of 1,200 students feel or are on a sports team at that school. All right, that's it for today's lesson. Thanks for watching.